Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today in the Wells Tech Garage for this week's episode of CounterPoint. I'm joined here again by Adam. Thanks for joining us today, Adam.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we're going to talk EVAP again today, right?
Exactly. We got leak detection pumps.
All right. So Chrysler EVAP, you know, the number one user of
this
the leak detection pump, and they've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah, about since 1996.
Since 96. Okay. But they're not really the only manufacturer anymore doing it, right?
Correct. We have some Toyotas, BMWs,
all right.
Some Fords.
Some Ford stuff is starting to get into it. So really, moving forward here, as you know, times change, we might be seeing more leak detection or NVLD type systems onto our vehicles.
Correct.
So right now, currently, we have what % coverage?
We have 100% coverage on the Chrysler apps presently. So.
Wow. All right, 100% coverage on the leak detection pumps, or the NVLD, or the LDP, or the ESIM, or whatever Chrysler.
Some people call them vent solenoids too.
There you go. Whatever it's being called at that moment, they're all pretty much doing the same thing on a Chrysler vehicle. They're acting as the vent solenoid and the way for the computer to test it. So why don't we see what we got in the box here?
So what we have here today is we have two of our most common sold parts over here.
Okay. So. Most common Chrysler EVAP parts.
Exactly. Huh? So this is an older version. Right here, this is a leak detection pump from a 96 to 2000 Caravan, town and country.
And part number on that one is?
ESM1004.
ESM1004. And, you know, I remember replacing a bunch of these. These are the ones that sit right underneath the, pretty much right under the driver's seat under the vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And what's the other one we got?
And then here we have a newer version. This is what they've gone to, and this is present, actually. This would be a present design. They haven't changed it all for any new designs or anything. This is from 2007 and later.
Okay, so 2007 and up, most of the models from Chrysler Dodge.
Exactly, and this sits right on top of the vapor canister.
Okay, nice. Yeah. This one's a lot smaller.
Correct.
It's got some.
Sounds like some marbles in there.
A rattle to it.
Yeah, it's not broke.
Okay.
So anyone that remembers that, just because it rattles doesn't mean it's broke.
Okay, yeah, I can see there's a little shuttle valve sliding back and forth in there that looks like it's sealing up on two different parts. So.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So, like you said, this one's mounted right directly onto the side of the canister, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then this one is typically mounted somewhere on the vent side. The Caravans had it right underneath the driver's seat. Some of the other vehicles had it close to there, but it's somewhere near the canister or somewhere in one of the lines going to the front. Okay. Now that's all to do with the parts. Should we take a minute and just talk about how the system works?
Yeah, how it works. That'd
okay.
be great.
So basically, Chrysler uses these components to both vent the system, because remember, an EVAP system needs to be able to vent in fresh air in and out of the system, and it uses it to test. So what they do is this valve will seal up after the vehicle's been shut off. So you park in your garage, you park outside, whatever, wherever you park, you shut the key off. This thing should seal up and recognize a pressure change. There's a little valve inside of here with a switch attached to it. The pressure will change either up or down, and should trip the switch and tell the computer that pressure was either built up or decreased. And the computer should say, okay, good, I noticed that you changed pressure, we're good to go. The system must be sealed up because it moved our pressure switch. If at that point the computer says, okay, it timed out, we didn't change pressure, nothing happened, there must be a leak in the system. At that point, the computer can go then one step further. It can do what's called an intrusive test. And that's very similar to the way just about every other manufacturer tests their EVAP system. Turn on the purge solenoid, close up the vent, draw a vacuum on the entire system, seal it up tight, and watch for any sort of decay over a certain amount of time. If you have a lot of decay in the pressure or vacuum, then you must have a leak. If it's not, then it must seal up and you should be good to go. So common codes for these ESIMs or NVLDs, they're going to be the P0442, P0455, P0456. Those are probably the three most common that we see for replacement of these. But again, guys, it's not always going to be these parts here that are causing the problem.
Exactly. Let's talk about that real quick too.
Yeah, you guys make sure we test and we're not guessing.
Exactly. These have a lot of, there's vapor lines that run. They're rubber.
Rubber vapor lines. Physical damage, like say you were to run over a rock or a chunk of ice or something, there could be damage to the canister, anything like that.
You could have some wiring concerns too.
Wiring concerns.
They are electrically controlled. So.
Sure. Those hoses that sit right by the battery tray under the air box
Yes.
on those
Little
Grand
short
Caravans.
hoses. Yeah, 01 and later Grand Caravans.
Yeah, they're
01
like
to 05 or so.
sure.
Like that.
Those are very common to crack and leak. I'm sure you guys have dealt with that. I think that's probably
Some
the
real
most
common things that
most
go.
common things for EVAP problems on these.
They're out in the harsh elements, so that's
True.
They're not in a nice little, they're
Yeah.
not inside the vehicle or anything warm,
Right. Yep. And if you guys saw that class that we did on EVAP, we were talking about vent solenoids, and one of the causes of why they fail is because they're drawing in the atmospheric air. So there's moisture in there. There could be contaminants in that air that is being drawn into there, and it causes contamination. It causes corrosion. It causes rust buildup. Same thing that happens inside of those vent solenoids happens inside of these NVLD or ESIM assemblies. Over time, being exposed to the elements will degrade them.
And also, we hear this little rattle in here too. Well, there's a rubber in there.
There's a rubber seal on each side of that.
That can degrade too. And
Right.
that can fail right in there.
And
so.
that diaphragm inside of these is made out of rubber too. So
Yes.
anything like that can cause it to fail. Or say you have bad components in the EVAP system, can cause it to fail too. If for whatever reason fuel vapors were to start escaping through this thing, the fuel vapors could cause degradation of the part. But being that these are mounted on the vent side of the EVAP system, there should never be vapors traveling in and out of them. It should be all ventilated, fresh air after the vapor canister.
Correct.
So, okay,
Yeah.
I think that's probably about it for the NVLD or leak detection system that Chrysler uses. And keep your eyes open, guys. I'm sure we're going to be running into these a lot more on newer vehicles.
Exactly.
So it's a good system. They can be tricky to test sometimes, especially like these. You got to typically jump a wire to ground to test them. And one other thing, when you smoke test these systems, be careful. Don't overpressurize the system, or you can rupture the diaphragm inside of these.
Oh, good point.
So be very, very
point.
careful when you're smoke testing these things. Just like when we talked about smoke testing that vent solenoid, overpressurizing can ruin components in the EVAP system, so be careful.
Okay, Mike.
All right, I think that's about it. That's it for me.
Works for me.
All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you guys again next time in the Wells Tech Garage.